Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Veronica, and for my first video I want to kind of welcome you into my life. I want to be able to share with, even if it's just one person, about my journey living with fibromyalgia. I'm hoping that this video won't be too long, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. Please like and subscribe. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. You can also email me. I've left the email in the description. So I want to give you a little background of myself. I'm 35 years old. I got diagnosed with fibromyalgia when it was 6 months ago. However, I started with chronic pain when I was 11 or 12. My mom took me to the emergency room, and they had no idea. My right ankle had just swelled up. My whole foot was swollen. I had fever. They couldn't figure out what was going on. So I got referred to a child's rheumatologist here in San Antonio. At the time I lived in Laredo, Texas. So that's when my chronic pain really started. I have a 10-year-old who's going to be 11 on September 1st, and then I have a 1-year-old who just turned 1 yesterday. So when the pain really started, I've always lived with pain. I have aches and pains. I get up and I'm like, oh man, my back hurts, or sometimes my legs are just really tired. I'm very active. I've always been a runner. 3 years ago, my heaviest, I was 230 pounds. Doctors couldn't figure out why I couldn't lose weight. I tried everything. I tried all the diets. I did all the fads. I did everything. Eventually, I went ahead and had a gastric sleeve done to be able to help with my weight loss. Also, right before the weight loss, I fell in the tub and hurt my left knee. I'm so sorry. I hurt my left knee, and the pain just never went away. I YouTubed stretches on the pain, to help relieve that pain. I didn't have any torn ligaments or anything like that. It was just a constant pain that never went away. So here we are, fast forward 3 years, had a major weight loss, had a baby. So I'm working on losing that baby weight. I've been working on it. And what prompted me to finally go to an adult rheumatologist was my fingers I would wake up every morning and my fingers would be very stiff, to where like I couldn't even move them. I would go straight to the restroom, run the hot water, and to help loosen those joints and muscles. So I was like, you know what, let me just make this appointment. So my mom referred me to a very great rheumatologist. She's amazing here in San Antonio. And right away she was like, we're gonna test you for A, B, C, D. We're gonna have some x-rays done, because I also have, I have tons of headaches, just so much. And starting the day was just, even now, starting the day is such a chore. I wake up and I'm like, I have to stretch my hands. Or not stretch, but because even now that I'm on I'm on medicine that I take throughout the day, it's still not enough. Not that it's not enough, but I still have the pain, right? Living with fibromyalgia is chronic pain. So I'm constantly having to do this in the morning, running my hand in warm water. I take a shower every morning to be able to loosen everything up. So I go to the doctor, right? And I tell her, I've had this pain in my knee for 3 years. This is what's happening with my hands. My lower back is killing me. I don't know what I'm doing. Or what I'm doing wrong. I'm very active. I run. At the time I was, for the past 3 years, even more, for the past 10 years, I've been running outside. I prefer to run outside. It makes the time go by faster. You have scenic route, or however you want to say it. I prefer it because it makes the time go by faster for me. Also, So I'm telling her all of this, and then she's like, okay, well, I'm gonna, let's go ahead and let's check you out here. So she starts doing, of course, the 18-point tenderness check. So if you are familiar with fibromyalgia, they do, you are familiar with fibromyalgia, so you know this technique or this test that, most rheumatologists do. If you're not familiar with fibromyalgia, what they do is they do an 18-point check. So they check, are you tender here? Are you tender here? And they go down and they check both the left and the right side on all your major tender points. And sure enough, it was so painful. I couldn't even believe some of the spots I didn't even know I was tender in. And some like places that some points were more tender than others. So she continued, doing her test, and she was like, I still want to run some blood, and I still, test some blood, and I want to do those x-rays, but I'm gonna go, you have fibromyalgia. And I was like, oh, and I kind of had a feeling. I was just putting it off because I was like, man, I'm very young. I don't think so, but my grandma has rheumatoid arthritis. My mom has rheumatoid arthritis. My great grandma on my dad's side, she had rheumatoid arthritis really, really bad. So it's, like it's common in my family. So I was like, okay. So she was like, okay, well, we're going to start you on this medication. So that's where, that was 6 months ago. So I want to kind of go through the medicines that I'm taking. Mind you, I do have high blood pressure. When I lost all the weight, my high blood pressure went away. But after having my baby, not because of the weight gain, but just because genetics plays a huge role on me having high blood pressure. So I take amlodipine and hydrochlorothiazide for my high blood pressure. I take birth control because not about that life again. And I take a multivitamin, a daily multivitamin twice a day for my gastric sleeve. And I take calcium 3 times a day, and it's 500 milligrams. So that's for, my health right there. I have really, really bad anxiety and depression. So I'm clinically depressed. I've had depression and anxiety a good 10 years now, diagnosed. I truly believe that I had anxiety since I was in high school. For my anxiety, I take, as one of the medications for my anxiety, I take Adderall. I know a lot of people say, oh, Adderall's for ADHD. It is, yes. And it is a stimulant, and it does keep me, focused and being able to complete a lot of work. However, there's something about the Adderall that does the opposite effect. I'm very high strung, so when I take the Adderall, surprisingly, it calms me. I don't know what the scientific explanation is for it. I've never done the research. I just know what I feel. When I brought it up to my therapist, she was like, absolutely, that is why you're taking it. She goes, and it's doing a great job. And it has done for probably a good 4 years now. And so that helps with the anxiety part of my day for my 8 to 5, job. I also take gabapentin 3 times a day for my fibromyalgia. I take Effexor extended release for my depression, but also they've increased it for my fibromyalgia, and I take Flexeril for my fibromyalgia. Now with that, when I started doing my research for fibromyalgia, I started learning more and more, anxiety and depression is a symptom of fibromyalgia. So I have probably, like I told you, I truly believe that I started feeling anxiety and depression when I was in high school. It was very hard. I was untreated. Once I turned 18, I didn't have insurance for many years. So I kind of self-medicated, and with the depression, when you self-medicate and you don't, you start to come down or whatever the case may be, you get suicidal. So once I started reading more and more about fibromyalgia, it was a big aha moment. Like, wow, maybe I've had fibromyalgia all these years, undiagnosed, untreated. 10 years ago, I started with my anxiety and depression being treated. First, I didn't want to take medication because I wanted to talk to a therapist, kind of start, working on the issues that I had that may be causing the anxiety and depression. Well, that didn't work. So medication was coming next. So that was a very eye-opening experience when I started reading more and more about fibromyalgia. Now, starting with the symptoms, I have pain in my hands, as I've spoken about, in my middle to lower back. When the x-rays came back and she started explaining to me what the results were, she did tell me that I have arthritis in my lower back and in my neck. And that explains so much, because when I was pregnant with my second baby, the most recent, my 1-year-old, the way he sat in there, it caused me to have a lot of sciatic pain. I know that is very common for women. However, the pain was so bad that it would cause me to have contractions. So I was always like, man, this cannot be normal. Well, when she told me about the arthritis and where it's located, when the arthritis when I have a flare up, it basically adds pressure to my sciatic nerve, and all of that just it starts flaring up. It's a big red, the best way I can describe it is it's red from my lower back all the way down my legs, right? So that was also a big aha moment. Like, oh man, that explains so much about my pregnancy. So also, of course, my left knee. As soon as she started treating me for the fibromyalgia, my left knee pain it's still there, but it's not as bothersome. I did stop running outside. I now run on a treadmill because the ground is just too hard on my body. That was a big thing that I had to accept, because I've been doing it for so long. And so the pain type, I guess you could say what it is. It's chronic pain. And the medication that I take is it's like a Band-Aid. It's temporary. It doesn't last. I literally can feel when it starts wearing off. My rheumatologist, though, she has really, really been very, receptive of the feedback that I give her. And she's, okay, that doesn't work. Let's try this. So that's awesome. So other symptoms that I've had is muscle fatigue, me feeling tired. For example, today I ran, for my goal is to run 25 to 45 minutes. I could only do 20 minutes today. My legs were just so tired, and I don't, do incline. And I took off for a week because I was in so much pain for 2 weeks. That's including last week. And I wanted to rest, So I do have a lot of muscle fatigue. Also, feeling tired. I'm always tired, even when I drink coffee, even when I take my Adderall. No matter how much I'm like, okay, let's get this started, my eyes are always burning because I always feel so tired. I just work through it. I think I've been doing it for so long that I've adapted to that, and it's just second nature now. Another thing is I have extreme muscle tenderness. My husband, he is a very large man, and I tell him all the time that he doesn't know his own strength. And I don't know if it's so much of that as I didn't realize I was as weak as I am, or as tender as I am. He can, barely touch my shoulders and just do a little bit of a massage, and I'm done, because it hurts so much. It's so tender. So what he did was he got me a back massager. And well, it's not even necessarily just focusing on the back, it's for the whole body. So that's helped a lot. And that's also another reason why I took the week off, because if you're familiar with fibromyalgia, or you have fibromyalgia, you know that when you are messing with those muscles and those nerves, trying to massage them and trying to get them to relax, basically, you pay afterwards. It's a lot of pain, it's a lot of discomfort. Another symptom of fibromyalgia is the gastrointestinal. There's nausea, there's constipation. I read, and I also saw some videos of women struggling with passing a lot of gas. Fortunately, I don't have a big stomach, and my digestive, the really big issue that I have, and I know this is TMI, but that's what we're here for, right? And so I do get constipated, and I've always had that issue ever since I was little, ever since I was a baby. I've always had issues with digestion. So since as I've been growing up, as I grew up, and now with this diagnosis, again, it was just like a huge eye-opener, because I was like, you know what, I have always had issues with constipation. So it kind of it kind of explains so much. Another thing is, I like to say that I have short-term memory loss. And when I say I have short-term memory loss, that is probably an understatement. I can literally have a conversation and I am dead focused. And I will ask you the same question that I asked during that conversation, probably within the day, if not the next day. And a lot of people are like, oh my God, Veronica, we just had this conversation. I'm so sorry. Like, I don't remember. Forgetfulness is a side effect. I was very concerned that I actually brought it up to my therapist, because I take clonazepam for my very, very, very hard anxiety nights. And I told her, what is the clonazepam causing me to have this memory loss issue? And she said, well, no, how about take some notes and find out when it's happening the most. Well, it happens the most after hours. And when I say after hours, I mean like either before work or after work. So she was like, okay, well, that's when your Adderall is not in its full effect. So that's probably what's causing it. You're not focused, you're not listening. When I went to my rheumatologist, she started talking about it, and I was like, that explains so much, because I've had crazy memory loss, and I have crazy memory loss. It has not gone away. So that is definitely also a side effect or a symptom of having fibromyalgia. Having your hands falling asleep, pins and needles in your hands and feet. That was also something that I had when I went when I went to the rheumatologist, and we started talking about why are you here. I have headaches, I'm irritable, definitely have joint stiffness, as we talked about earlier. Living with fibromyalgia is not easy. Anyone who has fibromyalgia knows that. If you're newly diagnosed with fibromyalgia, you're not alone. And it's a continued battle that you will have, or that I will have, for the rest of our lives. All we can do is support each other. Make sure you have the support of your family. Be honest with your spouse or your partner, and explain to your kids. Unfortunately for me, my 1-year-old doesn't understand that mommy's body hurts. And believe me when I tell you, I am a jungle gym. He climbs and jumps on, and it is, and not just me, my husband as well, but he does not have a limit, right? So, and if you have children, you know that. But living with fibromyalgia, anxiety and depression, having a 1-year-old, having a soon to be 11-year-old, it's a lot going on with everybody, and I want to be able to share my experience. Again, like and subscribe. I can't wait to see you all again. Look forward to my next video, and we'll talk to you soon.